I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late, they cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
The flow insane, take my spot, so the range. Shoot my shot with perfect aim. 3rd degree, that perfect flame. Ain't no sleep, that's the game. Oh, so southern, that's the slang. When they see me, that's the main. Chasing checks and fly like planes. Big old stick, I bought a cane. Flick my wrist and bought the ring. I'm so boss, we're not the same. Paid the cost and kept the change. Now I'm walking Hall of Fame. And I reside in the cloud. Grand wishes with these bitches. Taking pictures with the crowd, and I'm out.
Yo. What up? Peace, blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Happy Thursday, people. Appreciate you for being here. Glory, praise, and honor again to the Creator, Yahshua, the Alpha, the Omega. It's an honor and privilege to be with you guys. I love chopping it up with you. Whether or not it's 1 million people in here, 2 people in here, 5 people in here, we here for the real talk. We just cutting up. Shout outs to my poets, writers, content creators, everybody in between time, in the meantime. Shout out to Sour. Shout out to the panel, Sydney, Rob, everybody, man, that's been tapped in. Humble. Love the discussions. We got an archive filled with some of the most amazing work ever to be put on social media. And it's a privilege to be able to sit down and have these discussions with the good people. Win, draw, or lose, we all went across the board. You see the title, right? I saw it too. I had to re-twist it and remodify it a little bit. Because I was scrolling on TikTok, of course. And when I came across this video, I hit an automatic stop. I froze. I was astounded. I was flabbergasted. I couldn't believe my eyes. I thought I was being deceived. My mind's playing tricks on me. I didn't know this was a real thing. Apparently it is. Apparently there is something for everybody. I've said it before. There's a niche for every human on this planet. It don't matter what your fetish is or what you prefer. There's something for everybody. And clearly, a lot of you need help more than what this entire conversation can offer. But nonetheless, the reason why we are here is because it needs to be discussed, it needs to be explored, and it needs to make its way from account to account, from platform to platform. Because there's no way in the world You are going to tell me that this happens. Nobody's aware of it. And for some odd chance, we come into contact with somebody like you, and we're oblivious to the fact that you are out here having parties to contract a disease, a virus, a death sentence, so that you can get benefits from it. Oh yeah, yeah. You done lost your damn mind. I'm sorry. This is what I'm gonna do though. I got a clip I want to play for y'all. I'm gonna let her get her balls off, and we're gonna have a conversation. Let's bring this up here real quick.
Before I go to bed, I got to tell y'all something. So I found out that people are actually going to parties and they are contracting HIV, y'all. Like they're doing it on purpose. They're actually going to a party or a get together where people that already have HIV or HIV, and then the person that doesn't have it comes to the party and they get together. They have schmecks, and the person willingly catches HIV. And the reason why they do it is even crazier. They do it so that they'll qualify for disability and lifelong health insurance. I can't believe it. Like you are willingly giving yourself a disease so that you can just sit home and get disability and life and health insurance. I mean, have people not seen like the end results of that particular disease? Like it's not easy. And yeah, the medication might be working now, but after you've been on it for so long and your body starts, developing some immunity to the medication, then as you get older and as the disease progresses in your body, you're gonna, your body's gonna start to shut down on you. And that's where the pain comes in at and all that other stuff. Why would you want to inflict that on yourself? This is a hell of a time that we are living in right now, where people will actually go and get, that's just unbelievable, but it's true. That's what people are doing. Please tell me, how the hell do y'all feel about this? That is crazy. Before I go to bed, I gotta.
Max, I see you in the studio. It is very sad. It is extremely sad. Extremely sad.
I managed to catch that. That is, the video that is. What? When I saw HIV parties, I'm like, what? I'm like, is this for those who already have it? Never mind. I did not see that. There are people who will do things for disability just to collect something. There are people who will like identify as such.
You made the same face I made when I came across that. The exact same face. I was absolutely floored. And it wasn't because of the party aspect, or it was the idea that people literally have gotten to a point to where they're risking their actual life, literally, for a disability check. Good day, good day, good day.
Dude.
I don't.
Is serious.
Go ahead. No, yeah, it's extreme.
No, because sorry, I was gonna say like sound like multitasking. No, they yeah, HIV. I don't know I know that the beds have gotten better. To the point where it's like non-detectable. However, I do pray that for those who have this disease, I pray that the medicine works for so many years that you get to die of natural causes and nothing else. I pray that the medicine works to your advantage in the name of Jesus for those who need it for the right reasons. Um, the thing that I am, is yeah, you have to consider the fact that you're trying to give yourself something that if you don't have the insurance for, if you don't have the proper access for that medicine because it's very expensive, you're risking yourself. That's a very delicate situation. HIV, eh, what some people would not do for a shot for that thing, for a vaccine, the medicine's all they got, and that's just stupid to be doing that. Like, I get it, it's so desperate out here, but bro, you say what you gotta say. I don't know what else to say.
Hey, I know. It's one of those subjects, man. At the beginning of this stream, I said, look, one of my main reasons for discussing this is because, well, there's different layers to it and different avenues that you can cut in and out of. One of them is the fact that a lot of these men and women who got it, they're vindictive, they're very spiteful, and so much so that as far as they're concerned, this is life or death for them. It really don't make a difference whether or not someone else gets hurt in the process. They already got it in their mind that it's over with for them. So their concern or their empathy for another human being goes out the window. Imagine you being told that you got X amount of time to live because of your what inability to practice safe sex, or maybe somebody intentionally gave it to you from being irresponsible. You like there's many ways to get it, and you like how do you take that into consideration of I'm gonna have to suck this up, I'm gonna have to be mature about this, I'm gonna have to be a role model, etc., etc. I can't go around being overly dramatic, emotional, have this rage in my heart, and still live a normal life as much as possible. I think it's.
Like,
I'm gonna try to land it because I know there's too many different things that I'm trying to go in and out of. I do
yeah, I
want
hear
to
you.
say I want to say like you, my thoughts and prayers go out to people who actually are living with it and they didn't use it as a. They're not weaponizing it like they're trying to educate people. And I mean, for everybody who has it, of course, obviously, but the maliciousness behind it, that's a whole nother thing that I'm jumping in and out of. I have a habit of doing that. I just can't get my
Mm,
mind around how we've gotten to a place in life where we are willing to go to these extremes to survive in this economy.
yeah,
You definitely playing with fire.
hello.
Um,
Sorry, my phone is like for some reason.
I'm trying to. I,
Hold
I swear I I had plenty of time to really think about what I wanted to say, but how can you really respond to something like that? I want to warn people. I want to empathize with people. I want people to know, look, this is a real thing. This is actually happening. It might be next door to you. It might be around the corner. But I don't want people to act or pretend as if HIV is something that you can just get rid of, or it's supposed to be something that you're okay living with. I got you, bro.
It's not like
It's like once upon a time. I'm gonna drop him real quick. I'll bring him back up when he's straight. Once upon a time, you couldn't have the cooties. You couldn't have no type of STDs. If you had anything, herpes, gonorrhea, any of that stuff, that was frowned upon. Nobody wanted to touch you. Nobody wanted to be associated with the person who had this and had that. You got shamed for stuff like this. And like once you remove shame and once you begin to advocate for perverseness, let's put it that way. The minute that you begin to sidestep what a landmine looks like so that you could partake in your indiscretions, you gave leeway for a lot of this stuff to branch out and become more than what it actually was. This was never supposed to be normalized. Ever. We wanted science. We wanted them in that field of work to find ways to solve the crisis. Give us a cure. This is life or death. This is my family. These are my children. Am I going to get to grow up to see them? Are they going to get to grow up to have normal lives? What's my dating going to be like? Will I ever find love again? Will I ever be able to do things the same way anymore? Because once you get attached to a certain stereotype, or you're that guy or that girl that got this and that, people treat you different. It's a whole lot of stuff that come with that. It was never supposed to be normal. But now that you got certain drugs that prolong that finality, people are more adjusted. They're getting more like comfortable with having it. People are actually dating while they have it. I'm so scatterbrained. I know the economy is bad. I know like people sell blood, sell semen, toe pictures, all type of stuff. The way that the world is right now, here in the United States, it's hard for people to make it on a day-to-day basis just off of one job. I don't know if there's one person that's living off of one salary, unless you in one of these states that still give you a fair shot. But you know it has to be bad. It has to be bad when you are trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? You're trying to play the system with a cheat code that really isn't a cheat code. Why would you volunteer to go to a location to have somebody transmit something to you that you can never get rid of? I don't get it. The psychosis behind it. I would love to have a conversation with someone who partakes in this out of curiosity. Like, where is your head at? I know people in dire situations or have been in dire situations. Nothing to the extent where they have something that they can't get rid of, but their lights about to get cut off, their water shut off. They don't know where they're going to get their next meal from. I've been there. I know people who have been there, and they've never said, "I'm going to go out here and put a penis in my mouth," or "I'm going to go out here and sell myself to do." I don't know, bro. Like for real,
Bro, people don't care. They don't care. They don't care. We would never personally hear anything, but I'm telling you, man, you hang around New York City streets long enough, especially around the month of June. Oh, you're gonna see some wild stuff. Even at Comic Con, I can't even go anymore. I don't think I can go anymore. They do not care. There are people you see from families to people wearing provocative things. That alone, I'm just like, nah, this ain't friendly for children no more.
and
Forgive me
two,
if I interrupted.
no, you good. I was just saying the level of depression, mental anguish, deprivation of the spirit.
Mhm.
Are you that worn out by society and the responsibilities of trying to upkeep your lifestyle? Is it a combination of everything? I'm not even talking about a person who already has it. I'm talking about the folks that's going to the actual party,
Mm.
volunteering themselves to get it so that they can alleviate some of the stress. What's going on?
HIV is an extreme thing to go to. I mean, as we said already, it's I that's the perfect question to ask. Like that's literally the the initials is always for our I think our the world the way the world's looking to people is WTH. Like what the heck is going on around here? Literally every day, and I don't blame people. And the funny thing is that maybe I'm nostalgic for the wrong reasons because I didn't live in this generation, but you know, I do think, and this is not to sound like an old head, but maybe it's just our tech has done too much too quickly. Despite the fact that there are some things that movies predicted that we do not have yet, like that, marketably. Flying cars. Like, thank God we don't have flying cars. I can't imagine the nightmare in the skies with that stuff. The, don't don't go by what you saw in Back to the Future. What you saw is a movie for a reason. Because if that was real life, that would not end well. I do not believe so. Um, it's just there's a reason why people now are like cutting back from social media. Like what I like is that kids are there's a whole generation out there like, yo, we buying DVDs again. We're not doing streaming services. And I've seen posts where I don't know how true it is, but they said that when they show kids older shows, the stimuli is not as high. Like if you showed them like Franklin, the Turtle Show, you know, the one about the turtle, the Little Bear, little like a lot of PBS kids shows from like the early 2000s that I grew up with. They weren't so stimulating, like they weren't stimulating in the unhealthy sense. They were like well paced that you couldn't understand stuff. And you know, people are switching to old tech because this is too much. This is too much. Like I love, you know, if we had just had a radio show, people would be forced to just listen. But what's good about podcasts is that you could watch how people are talking if you want to, or you could just listen to it. But they make everything hard because you got to pay for premium if you want to just be able to turn off turn off the screen and just listen to stuff. Like I remember when that was an issue. Like I take YouTube Premium because I'm tired of ads and I want to be able to listen to music and I had to buy 1,000 things on iTunes. Like it's not convenient. It's not balanced. Nothing seems balanced. If this was like, I think that's why people kind of worship the 90s a little bit specifically, if not the 80s and 90s, because they had a transition where it was like there was actually some years where it was like peaceful. It was the one decade where war wasn't necessarily always the thing that scared everybody. There was looming ideas, but it was never something that stuck. And then 2001 comes and forget about it. It's like God forbid you have a decade of peace, excluding I believe Desert Storm. I know that was a thing. So like if you look at even entertainment, like you had um you know black black culture in on TV was being a little more legitimized. It was becoming a little less stereotypical. You had different world. You had I know despite his reputation, but you had Bill Cosby show going into the 90s or at least about to end. You had those 2 decades where there was some liberation of like showing like camaraderie. And I know that the day that the earth becomes peaceful is the day where Jesus will return. Um, so the chaos is a sign of like, look, that you still have time to become a follower of Christ. But it's like that decade was like it became like the prosperous decade, it seemed like in hindsight. In retrospect to some people. I could be wrong. Anyone is free to correct me, but looking at the scope and how people remember it, it was a little simplistic. Even everything up until 2000, I would say 2009 or 10. I think right before the iPhone, because the Sidekick was like the beginning of a lot of stuff. That was like the end of phone conversations. Once they get a keypad on a phone and you could flip it like a toy, forget about it. That was it. It's just everything gets worn out because it's so saturated. Everything is oversaturated.
You sound like me earlier. I think, man, almost verbatim. I said this to Sarah
Oh,
earlier today, and I think I said this to Sydney yesterday. Look at the timestamp. For me, I always felt that simplicity always outweighed the complicated stuff. The minute you started adding on, it's what added the like. Sure, now we can do this, and we can voice command for our information, but that made us lazy. It made us codependent on technology. It changed our perception of reality. I'm looking at the screen here, talking to you, but I turn away from the camera. I'm looking out my window. It's not the same. It don't have the same feel to it. But nowadays, people can't differentiate between the two. So when you get on here and you see something that you like and you feel you have access to it because all you gotta do is push a button, you don't realize that the life that you see here is not the same life that is outside of that. And I missed the 90s. I missed the 80s. I'm an 80s baby.
Mm.
I put it this way, WWF. I miss WWF
Everyone
because
does.
that's when everything was the rawest that it could be. No pun intended, pun intended.
Yeah.
And y'all, I don't know how we got to a place to where you normalize having to live with something that you never had to live with.
Yeah.
And now it's recreational. So now you can go online and you can sign up for it. And they have parties and they have hosts that welcome you in. Hi, Bob. Would you like to have a STD pop? That'll be $20. What?
I'm sorry, the voice you put, bro. That's dude. I remember what's his name? The comedian, the white comedian. Bob, is it Bill Burr? Bro, he made a good point. He said, you know how hard it was to get access to porn back then? It was like the most shameful thing you had to deal with. Like to go to the store, you would like to get a blow up doll, all that stuff. You had to you would disguise yourself. You would sneak to the store somehow where no one could see you, and just sneak and get out. Hopefully, like it was a whole conundrum to do something. Now it's so easy. It's just like, bro, there was a whole magazine dedicated to it. I think Time magazine. They were talking about how bad it is. Terry Crews spoke of having an addiction for years to the point where that it became bad. The article talked about studies where young men are having a hard time enjoying the real thing with girls because they got too stimulated by the virtual stuff. So now it's like, and that's not something that should be happening when you're 20 and 30 and 40 years old. So it's like, yeah, you know what, like our generation, I think, has validation for nostalgia because we remember what it was like, but we forget what it felt like to not have stimuli all the time that wasn't from your imagination. But because I was a kid in the '90s, going into the 2000s, I was in '94, so I'm 32. So I was a kid. I was amused by everything and anything. So I don't know what it's like to be an adult at a time when a cell phone was money. Like that had to be worth your time. You either talk to strangers or you didn't, and be like, yo, let's meet up at this time, and you would not have any way of knowing if they're gonna show up or not without the phone booth, or without just trusting God that everyone's okay, and you won't know stuff till you get home or the next day. And now because everything's like this, the slightest delay can make you anxious. And I'm just like, depending on who you care about the most and who you talk to the most, forget about it. Be like, yo, they okay? And this, forget about it. Like, if people are away from the phone, that's a healthy thing. And the funny thing is sometimes it's like when people are not on the phone like that and you're used to it, it makes room for anxiety. So it's crazy. Like I remember I used to be stimulated like when video games was the stimuli, I felt like that should have been the cutting point. That should have been it. Because the phone, I get that like it's good for the convenience of like being able to do everything on it, but at the same time it's like it leaves too much room for what you said, codependency, because you had to do a lot of effort back then. Like that transition was like peak because you had a little bit of everything and it was enough to where you'd be like, okay, I need to shut this off. When they were making Toy Story 2, bro, they had to work so hard. They were so hard that it was so bad. Some of their eyes got damaged because of the blue screen. Because they had to. I mean, granted, they had a situation where the whole file was about to be deleted, so they were like working hard because they were trying to beat a deadline within a year, and they, the risk, and that's in 1998, 99. So imagine now you
Right.
gotta, there's now the special glasses just for the screen.
Yeah.
I'll put this thing in dark mode.
Yeah. I'm so
So
old school that I was impressed. I was impressed with a TV show that had a cliffhanger that made you wait for a whole week before you got to watch it again. You didn't have the when Raw and SmackDown and all that was going on. You couldn't just rewind it and replay it on YouTube and all that. You had to wait to the next Monday for something else because it didn't come on every day. They had other shows, but it wasn't like, oh, they're gonna just pick up from what happened Monday. No, you got to wait till next Monday, or just even being outside until the lights came on. You weren't thrown and given everything all at once. Now you just got it right here in your face, or at least you believe you do, so you feel entitled to it. It's a sickness. I don't know how you would phrase it, but we're constantly chasing after something. And in this story specifically, the way that I listen to it, you're telling me either this is just something that I enjoy doing, or y'all are down on your luck that bad, or you feel that lost that this is your only option. Maybe I'm
uh,
tripping.
hmm. No, I think it's a mix of a lot of stuff. It's it's I mean, I always point back to spiritual. So I know people are like, I know there's some people looking at me like, oh, here we go again. But it's true. Think about it. Like, there are enough people in the world that you know that that are familiar with spiritual stuff, and what you know is that you know they are. It's there's a reason why it says do not be of the world, because you're gonna get influenced by stuff like this, and sometimes we get oblivious to it. Think about something, right, folks? In the Bible, it says in the last days, what's good will be considered bad, and what is bad will be considered good. There are people who are celebrating this idea that is so blatantly, obviously bad, and there are people who justify a lot of things like cheating. The fact that loyalty is like is like a plus is very concerning. Now, granted, infidelity has always been a thing, but to the people's reaction to stuff is so drastically different. If you look at conversations now, where there are panels that talk to men and women about what their expectations are and things like that, it's like there's a false reality that's been driven there. I mean, some people are just materialistic, some people are simplistic, depending on what they've been through in life. When people go through hard times, they're like they want that prosperity because it's like, yo, we tired of this. We're tired of grinding all the time. Some people embrace it for what it is, and they're just like, look, as long as I'm good and we could do this every once in a while, I'm fine. But some people want that high life because at this point it's becoming like the goal for just to survive. And some things are understandable, but if when simplicity is no longer your goal to just be chill, if in this life, then it's worth self-examining. Like if you got to go through this desperate measure to just for the sake of being able to like take a breath and survive, we got problems. And I want to blame the economy, but I also blame. I think we all responsible. We are all responsible because there's a generation that allowed things to happen. There's a generation that indulged the wrong things for too long and for the wrong length of time. You indulged the wrong politics at the time. I remember Malcolm X. I know I heard this clip years ago on YouTube, and no, and this is not to just say that Republicans is great all the time. They're not, but he made a point and something to think about. He said, "Beware of the white liberal that tries to give you a handout. He will try to give you help, but it will only lead to codependency." I'm paraphrasing, but if you look at some of the stuff that government help, while it's good for those that need it, they push it to the point where it becomes a necessity. And then there's the politics push codependency, and then they vilify things to the point where we are like, yeah, we keep believing that, but then it's like, wait, take a step into reality. Take away a minute from the TV, the phone, the everything. How do you really interact with people? How are people really treating you? 9 times out of 10, is it really that bad? And it's not to downplay anything that's happening to people, but take a minute, take life in for what it is. Is it really that drastically horrible as opposed to what it's been told to you? And I know that there are people who have horrible experiences, and I pray that the Lord gets you out of your struggles, and at the very least gives you peace spiritually, so that way you could be happy in Christ. Because I know that there are a lot of people that go through so much stuff, it's you have no idea. But and there's no downplaying that. But it's just take a minute to take in the blessings that is for where you can find it. What gets pushed the most is what people end up getting hooked to, and they start believing that to the point where you're programming people. That's why the Terminator is a movie. That's why a lot of the movie. You pay attention to some of the movies.
I'm watching it now.
They're trying to tell you so. You're watching Terminator.
It's playing down in the background.
Oh my god, bro! I've been telling people the Terminator is too perfectly timed right now. This is literally the decade that war is supposed to is happening. Every time people watch that movie, they're like, "Oh, we're only a couple of years away from that." Like, it's that's about AI killing you. They do it in the literal sense in the movie because of the storyline, but think about how it's doing it to us mentally. So I'm rambling, so forgive me, but it's just
no, it's a combination of all that, and spirituality is a huge component here.
It is. It always is. It's influential. Like if you're that mad at God, I mean, look, I've been mad at God. But like if you that mad to the point where you reject his ways of things, even in the general sense, that's something to self-examine about. Why you hate that? Why do you think this other way of rebellion is so much better? Like, give things that are godly a chance, because you will most likely find peace in the long run. It ain't easy, but it's better for you in the long run.
Well, I think you kind of answered your own question. The long run.
Yeah.
That requires time. That requires patience.
Yeah.
But if you're if you're consistently offered a quick fix, like somebody said in the chat,
Yeah.
you're gonna be spoiled. You're used to getting things immediately. And if even if you're not getting what you want exactly, you're supplementing it with something else because you got too many options. So if you can't have her, well, if you scroll down long enough, you'll find someone else that looks similar to her or has a different bone structure, shape, but she's still culpable. So you'll be happy either way. If you can't get this bag of chips, we got something to replace that. It's always something to replace something. The idea is to make people feel like they are getting more for less. And
Mhm.
if you have to wait on it, that means wait on real love, real friendship. You got to work extra hard for that paycheck. That's not the way to go. That's a lot of the reasons why people reject the word and they go off and venture into their own things. And I think a lot of the government and the people who create these havens for it, they understand that science behind it and they apply it very well. But I don't think people acknowledges it or they want to add that or consider that to be a part of why we are where we are right now. There's a perversion, there's a spirit. I don't know what you identify with, but there's definitely a spirit of error in somebody when you would give you a whole healthy man out here, but you think it's a good idea to go over here, have sex with this person who has contracted this incurable by our reason. You take on that virus just so that you can what? Keep your refrigerator full, so you can skip the front of the line in the warehouse, or so that you can pay your rent. Something is not right there. What's that voice in your head that's telling you that's the only option? What's the voice? What's the voice in your head that's telling you, well, you kill two birds with one stone. You get to have sex, and you also get some extra finances to help you out. And because this is how, and this is my opinion, this is how the enemy works. He makes something that he can either make something that look good, sound like it's from God, or he can make something that sounds bad look good by giving you different options, different reasons for why it would benefit you. Oh, they got pills and stuff that you can take for this. You won't die from it, and you'll have the extra money to take care of this, that, and the third. Someone will love you. Someone will like. There's plenty of people, men and women out here that have what you have, and they'll date you.
Man. I don't.
You'd
I'm
be
sorry.
surprised. You'd be
Look,
surprised.
no, I know. I no. I was you spoke biblical truth about the enemy looks makes bad things look good. Like a lot of some of the social movements, and people can come at me if they want. I don't care. But it's just like why do you think it's so good when it doesn't it doesn't have any long term benefit? Like it to like first of all, having HIV, I know I think it's considered a disability, but that doesn't always guarantee something. If not immediately, because consider the fact that this is a specific retrovirus that is quite resistant to a lot of things, and if you can get the medicine, I think within a certain time frame, also there's no there's no guarantee there. Even if the immediate idea could look good, it's like consider all the people that do rely on stuff, the amounts of people, especially when you look at all the government assistance that exists, a lot of stuff has a waiting list. So many things have a waiting list. God forbid someone doesn't make that list. Who needs it? You know what I mean? Like you're adding yourself to a layer of something that is potentially problematic, and like more so than rewarding. You know, while assistance is there for those that need it, it is oversaturated, and none of the benefits of disability is guaranteed to you, if anything, within a timely manner, especially with particular illnesses. You know, it can be, yeah, the HIV can be dormant for amount of time, but you don't want to play with that. You can't get rid of that once you have it, because now that can complicate relationships. Because if you're not on top of that, that affects anyone you are married to, any children that you have, because now that bleeds into next generations. Even with the medication, you know that thing don't. I don't know how good it is. I don't think you can. I don't know if the. I think the medication is good enough where you can't pass it to children. If you have any, if you give birth to new children, but I still wouldn't play with that. So I know I keep thinking about Different World when they had an episode about that. One of the characters, who eventually plays Martin's girlfriend, I forgot her name in it, and her character shows up saying how she has AIDS, and her character's taking the earliest versions of the medication. Where some good, some days are good, some days are bad. Now, granted, that's the '90s, and we come a long way, but at the same time, it's like now is when medication is like can give a good level of peace, but it's still expensive.
My bad. I just wanted to
Say that again.
look something. Pull this a minute.
Oh, okay.
Um, this is what I will do. I'll just read it just to mess up the what's the name. Um, just so people know, just in case you're not familiar, uh, HIV medication prices range from $40 to over $5,000 per month without insurance, while a 30-day supply of common daily pills like Biktarvy runs about 5,000 and Truvada around 1,700. Specialized twice yearly injections like lenacapavir list for roughly 28,000 annually. Generics and copay programs drastically reduce these costs. I'm just giving you a little summary of what I saw. Everybody ain't making that. Matter of fact, I guarantee you a large portion of the United States is not making nowhere near that. Um, Again, it's one thing when you forced to live with it. I know y'all got it the worst. I know there's stories. I've seen a few of them. I've watched a few of them. But for people who are in 2026 and you're minimizing it, like you can just brush it off like it's a mosquito, you clearly done miss sex education.
Yeah, that is not being given. They went hard on that when I was a kid, and that was 2007. I was 12, 13 years old being told about this. I was like, I'm not doing none of this. I'll wait till marriage because at least then I'll feel safer. I just had that feeling like I know if I'm married, if I do stuff married, with my person, I'm safer. I just knew that off the bat because playing with people that you're not committed to is very dangerous.
And even right now in 2026, you don't know what you're going to get. Married couples don't even respect or honor marriage anymore, you know?
Yeah,
But
yeah. I mean, more people who are getting married young, and I like seeing it. In the last 10 years, I like seeing that. I've started seeing that. I've started meeting more people in their 20s that are like, "Oh, I'm married. I have a husband," or something like that. I'm like, I'm glad to hear that. I'm very happy to hear that. I was like, thank God, because like, look, single life is beautiful, but it's only good if you do it properly. Like, because you got to be careful. I mean, granted, you're not, even in biblical terms, the single life is something to worth to embrace. It's just that you still like if you're married, you still got to be careful what you're doing. The difference is you're accountable to yourself.
I prefer anybody to get married younger. Like,
Yeah, that,
math, there's a reason why we're supposed to wait till we get married, but nobody does it. So, for those of you who are still virgins, I applaud you. I should have started the whole stream off saying that.
oh yeah, I was
Y-
here, so yeah. But look, hey, better late than never.
Yeah, yeah, but for real, for real, y'all the real winners. You are. Everybody will tell you sex is overrated. Everybody will tell you you might as well just worry about your studies. And and there's a reason why people say that. Trust.
Mhm.
I hope and pray I never get to a point where I would probably sell blood or something, donate blood or something
Mhm.
for some. That's different. But I'm not about to know everything that I know about STDs, STIs. It's bad. Nothing good comes from it. Every video I've seen of people who had it and went no, and I'll never be able to
Yeah.
afford that. So imagine you being broke and you can't afford to have it, and you got to live with the symptoms.
Yeah. Even diabetes medication it can be a little tricky, depending on who your providers is. So
Yeah,
imagine it's like yeah, it. I think Dave Chappelle said that years ago that if I'm not gonna use the actual word because he used a curse word, but he said if sex was in stock, it would plummet because you oversaturated the market with it. And it's true. I think that's why like greed
Bang, bang, bang.
has led to a lot of things not being quality anymore. Because this is probably not the greatest example, but so I collect model trains, right? And I know about a good amount of history about like Lionel trains. and there was a peak time when they were doing well for like about 20 years, and their stuff was so well made that to this day people still prefer buying those things from 80 years ago. I have a train from 1946. You know what? I have it right here. I'm not even afraid of it. This is from 1946. This model, and this thing still runs well. Now it's a little sluggish to start with, but that's because of maintenance requirement. But this thing is still well made and still worth more or less its original price. And because that stuff was made, my theory was always people didn't feel the need to repeatedly buy a train set every year unless they had a passion for that. You could have the same train set for 20 years around your Christmas tree. Be like, I don't need to buy another one. Maybe a couple of cars to give them an idea, but we don't need another one. This train still works. And I bought that in 1950. It's 1970. It still works. Today, it's so saturated because you need to have money coming in regularly. So the quality is forced to go a little bit down. So that way people have a reason to keep buying. That way there's cash flow for companies. And if you take that with everything else, it's the same concept. You get what I mean? Like even cars. Cars, for example. Great to have a new car, but their motors, depending on the brand, carbon buildup sucks in some of them. And then the motors that were good up until 2017, they don't make them anymore. My car is 22 years old. The motor it uses they stopped production of in 2017. And the motors after that, they're all turbocharged, built in like that. But their downfall is that they get carbon buildup. They get a couple of stuff that will require a little bit more maintenance regularly just to keep upkeep. Now, how long the car will last, I can't say, but the tech bugs kind of give you an idea that the longevity is something to prey on. Everything basically is what I'm saying is that the saturation is being forced for the sake of greed, and half the time just to get business going. But the thing is, you risk a lot of the well-being of your customers, the well-being of the people that you look over, that you are in charge of. If you're a higher up position. So that's why a lot of people are like, if you look at people who are becoming Christian now, a good number of them, they're going old school. What's her name? Was her name Brett Cooper, I believe it was? She's the one that's compared to oh gosh, what's the guy? He talks fast. He's a Jewish guy who has political controversy. I forget his name. I can't believe I forget his freaking name. The girls always compare to him. But anyway, she shared a study on her show one time on Daily Wire where she said that a lot of Gen Zs are going traditional. They're starting to see going traditional. A lot of people are turning away from the politics that get pushed a lot because they start to see it. I think 2020 became a backfire because people had a chance to actually sit and actually look at what is actually happening. And they're just like, you know what? Let's step back a little bit. I think that's why some people, despite how Trump behaves and some of the stuff he does and says, I think that's why some people follow some of his concepts because some of it is like let's just take a step back a little bit because it's a chance to kind of just simplify your life a little bit because it has stirred up so much that people are just like, we done with this. We're gonna go 90s mode on everybody and just turn this stuff off because it's not healthy. This has unfortunately become demonic. This phone has now become a demonic presence. Not just TV, this. And it's because it's no longer, even dating apps. There's a girl who said, a friend of mine shared this, saying she don't do dating apps because it's just, if you think about it, it just leads to lust. You're just looking at pictures of people and just like, oh, they look good, this looks good, forget about it. You get so caught up in that I mean, it still has benefits, but at the same time, there's a risk for lustfulness, a high risk for it.
Bro, you don't know how many stories I've covered in the last 2 years off the dating app stuff. I mean, white dudes, black men killing these girls that they meeting on these apps. And I used to partake in them. Back when I was in my teens, oh, I was on them. I didn't really grasp the concept of the principalities of darkness. Like that shtick, I knew it existed, but it wasn't prevalent in how I was moving then. Again, things were a little more simple.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, you did have to work a little harder for stuff too. Like with those dating apps, you were getting on them hotlines on the phone, stuff like that. They weren't like Plenty of Fish and Black Singles Meet and all that. No, you called a hotline, you had to pay a subscription or whatever, and you was but that's neither here nor there.
They still make you work a little bit. They charge everything just to see who likes you. I'm like, yo, that is wild.
Oh, it's worse now.
Dude, one of my friends, she said, assistant crash, she said that like I feel so sorry for your generation because it's not like when I met my husband. Like she met her husband on MySpace, and some people are like, "Yo, can we get that back?" I'm like, bro, I will not say no to MySpace. That was actually I never had one, but I've seen my friends' pages back then when we were in school, and it actually looked cool. It was like, you know what, that's actually chill. You get to show off your personality better. The fact that you had music playing over your page a little bit that's actually a cool feature that I kind of hate that social media doesn't carry, with the exception of like you could do it on posts, but it's not part of your whole page. But yeah, like she said, it's not like before. Like dating online back then, meeting people online was like very, very different. Like and some people have like this mixed thing about um that, like, depending on who you get dating advice from, it's like it can either help you or not help you, because it's like by when they met their person, it was before the stuff that happens, because so much changes by the time you're 10 years into a marriage. You're like, bro, you don't know what it's like to date now. You could tell is wait on God. And it's true that we should, but it's like don't lack proper empathy. I say proper empathy for the fact that like there's something that has to be worked around the way things are now, because it's not like not even 10 years ago. One of my friends, he's been married what, maybe 6 years, dated his girl for been with his girl for like maybe almost 10. When he met her, they were friends in high school. It's not like before at all. And I was in college, what, 10 years ago, starting at 10 years ago, not even, or older than that. A lot has drastically changed, man. So much. I didn't jump on the bandwagons right away of social media or anything, but it's a lot. It's crazy.
Hey, look, if you didn't live through it, you just didn't live through it.
Yeah.
You can't bring that back.
No.
What I experienced, you can't have that here. They won't allow it. it's not going to bring them revenue. Period. I was paying 50 cents for chips, 25 cents for chips, 15 cents
Yeah.
for bubble gum. The sodas weren't no more than 60, 50 cents, 75 cents. Everything now, no. Eggs, $15. Cereal, $15. Your sodas, $3, $4, $5. That timestamp, they they just based. It was going back to what you were saying about the car. They overstimulated us with all of this, and they say, you know what? Oh, you like
Mm-hmm.
this? You like that? You like this? That? All right. Let's figure out a way to modernize it over time, but also let's cheapen the product as we make it better. Then package it like it's an upgrade while it simultaneously forces you to become more desensitized and more gimme, 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 gimme.
Yeah.
Like the level is genius evil. It's like very subtle but very obvious what they were doing, and we are just now kind of waking up to it. Most of us sooner than later, but
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Like what was I gonna say? A lot of things get cheapened, and then instant gratification is the main culprit of it because it becomes forced, and then some people are forced into that situation. It's like you have to get this done by this time, and this and that. There's usually like a time frame where it allows room for things to get to places, you know. Um, and like it's just it's a pity, like, and there are brothers like in different like hobbies that talk about how like, yo, this is expensive, and like some things have always been expensive, but there's nuances to like, okay, what's worth their price. So like for example, I showed you that old train, right? That thing still works. I don't use it too much because it's a little noisy, but it still works. This is a model of the Polar Express, right? This thing has every computerized feature you could think of, with the exception of the whistle blowing steam out of it. This thing is worth 500 at a retail price, and this thing after 4 years is malfunctioning on me. And you see how nice this looks? Very glossy, but in a way, it's like, you know what? That's nice, but it's just glossy. No disrespect to Lionel, but you're just looking at the difference. That old one looked like it was made industrially, but it has no features. But you know what? They're kids, college kids that I love that I'm hearing this. They are tinkering, they're taking advantage of their engineering degrees with their hobbies, and they're taking old trains and just putting, you know, third party sound systems in. And some things we don't mind, buying stuff from now because there's still some good stuff. But you gotta look at the big picture stuff. Like, okay, they're like, like there's a reason why sometimes, like, if you look at shows, the first car is always an old beat up car, but you can always fix it up. Take your time with it. You could still find good stuff, depending on what's worth doing, to just, pretty it up a bit. Take an old car, find maybe a better version of the engine if you can, give it that, give it some TLC, and you can, and the car will last another 20 years at least. because it depends on the cost. Like if it's worth the maintenance, it's fine. Because sometimes the insurance is what makes things worse for like a newer product. I don't know how we jump from HIV to this, but the principle is that don't let the pressures of instant gratifications and modern day anxieties push you to a place that you may not be able to come back from with peace, because your peace is very important. Stay compassionate for people, but protect your peace. um I hate that I can't remember the scripture by heart, but above all, guard your heart, because everything you do flows from it. Our heart is very deceitful, and you know, cast your anxieties onto the Lord because He cares for you. So, like, before you do anything crazy and you get emotionally driven, um, you know, pray on things first. So, love of God, and wait a minute. Don't jump on the first thing that sounds like it's justifying what you're feeling, but keep praying on things and give it some time, because God will look out for people, man. There is, by the grace of God, that we are not wiped out like the zombie apocalypse right now. There's a reason why it went out. It's not Skynet hasn't pushed that button on its own and send a rocket to everybody. So take advantage of the blessing that is the existence of humanity, and rest in the Lord, because you can take refuge in Him, man. So, and I feel I'm sorry for, and look, this is not to, and I understand those who, you go to this and, you were sold a what looked like a possibly a good idea to you, but unfortunately it wasn't. But look, just, learn from it, and just just make smarter decisions. Make smarter decisions, brothers and sisters. I don't know if you got anything else to say. I know I've been doing most of the talking.
all I'm gonna say is nice segue back into the moral of the whole topic.
Appreciate it.
I think all of it connected. It just all depends on how you hear it. Because when I'm listening to you talk, I'm thinking, well, you can compare it to how you treat your vessel, the wear and tear you put on your body. Exactly. Meeting people, dealing with different souls, different emotions, the chemical balances, imbalances, the spiritual warfare that you deal with, the traffic that comes in and out. Yeah, I think all of it tied in together at some point. Even the minute you said the Terminator drink, it was already over then, because I didn't have this plan all day. I just have a habit of keeping stuff on repeat. I don't even be paying attention. Sometimes it just be running in the background. But know y'all, I'm not going to tell you who to believe in, what to believe in, but you are more than just an employee. Yeah, we all got to take care of ourselves. It should never get that bad. I'm not even going to go too more into it, because I think you closed out perfectly, but love yourself a little bit more than to just hand your health and your well-being over to your lust and your desires and stuff like that. It's not what you really think it is on the other side. But shout outs to Sarah. I appreciate you for pulling in. She said she was going to tap in with us earlier, so I appreciate you. Luscious
was he the one in the chats?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. I was trying to read some of them. She said something about yes, but I don't know who that was about.
Oh, she was responding to something that you said earlier.
Mm.
Yeah. But shout outs to everybody, you, and anybody who watches this back. I hope y'all have a blessed evening. Happy Friday too, just in case we don't get to chop it up. Enjoy your weekends and all that good stuff. Do me a solid before you go, if you don't mind.
What's the goddamn button?
Peace.
Have a good night, y'all. God bless.
The flow insane, take my spot, so the range. Shoot my shot with perfect aim. 3rd degree, that perfect flame. Ain't no sleep, that's the game. Oh, so southern, that's the slang. When they see me, that's the main. Chasing checks and fly like planes. Big old stick, I bought a cane. Flick my wrist and bought the ring. I'm so boss, we're not the same. Paid the cost and kept the change.